Welcome to Gael.
In the Gael tonight, we take a closer look at a communicable disease which has a high fatality rate.
That's right. We are going to look at addiction. And Gael is going to focus more specifically on drug addiction, substance abuse.
Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to try to familiarize you with the causes and the effects of addiction. We're going to tell you where to get help and how to deal with the addict.
But first, what is addiction?
You know, as a drug addict?
Yeah.
What's a drug addict?
Someone who abuses drugs or something like that.
Somebody who get close to something and I can't do without it.
Someone who he's addicted to drugs. Like he cannot let go of it. He always wants the drugs.
Are you an addict?
No.
You know addiction could be for things other than drugs?
Yeah.
You know you could be addicted to this bike?
Yeah.
Are you?
Addicted to it.
Okay, thank you. You know that addiction can go beyond just drugs alone?
Yeah.
What else can you be addicted to?
Sex, alcohol, etc.
Are you an addict?
No.
You have nothing that you like to experience over and over again?
Oh, yes. Food.
You think you could become addicted to anything?
Music.
Why?
You see, I like it plenty. Anytime I go, man, is going to turn on the second thing.
Do you think alcohol is a drug?
Well, it is in a sense, but it is not illegal.
Coke is something else because I see a lot of the young fellas and fellas who born around my age and so on go on to the cleaners.
People going into drugs, or whether it is drugs or whether it is alcohol, could endanger their homes, could endanger their family.
How come?
Nice at all.
How could it?
Well, I believe that one of the aspects of endangerment, it could be the tendency of some fellows when they drink and so on to come and molest the children or abuse the children and so on, you know, child abuse and something like that. That's one aspect.
Do you know that addiction is a disease?
Well, I've never thought of it in terms of disease.
Do you know that addiction is a disease?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah, I believe.
Do you know what you're supposed to do to avoid addiction?
Say no.
Do you think you could become an addict?
No, if I could only become an addict if I say yes to something that I don't want to say yes to.
And what you should say if anybody asks you if you want?
Addiction is a relationship with an event or an object that causes a person to become obsessed with reliving the event, for example, gambling, or with obtaining the object, for example, drugs.
But can addiction go beyond like gambling and drugs?
Definitely, addiction, we tend to think of addiction only in terms of cocaine, but for example, food, sex, cigarettes, alcohol.
An addict essentially is somebody who uses a substance excessively, who has lost control of the use of the substance, and who has continued to use the substance despite the fact that there are adverse consequences arising in that individual's life. Now, why it is that this happens, why it is that the individual who becomes an addict continues to use the drug despite the fact that there are all kinds of negative things that are happening in their lives. Well, we understand that if we use the example of cocaine, for instance, that there seems to be certain specific kinds of physiological changes that comes over the individual once they become dependent on a drug like cocaine. It is very important to understand this because there are a lot of myths, there are a lot of theories, there's a lot of misunderstanding in our communities concerning the nature of addiction, and many people seem to still feel that the addict or the alcoholic is somebody who is bad or who is morally deficient in various ways. It should be understood that addiction is an illness. It's an illness because there are certain kinds of physiological changes that overcome the individual once they develop this dependence. My own view is that addiction is a very complex illness and that it has components that are biological in nature, that are psychological in nature, and that are also social in nature. Many different research studies have been done to try to elaborate each of these things. For instance, in the area of the biological issues, they have shown quite consistently that many people who become alcoholics, for instance, come from families where a parent has been an alcoholic, and it seems as if there's something that was inherited in that kind of way.
Never got burnt out on cocaine. I just wanted more and more, and I could go. I would steal, I would do anything to get my next fix. I never, excuse me, like how I felt with alcohol, being sick. And all, it used to make me sick to know I couldn't get another rock. But I never like hold up for a day or two until I came into NA and till I met with other addicts. And that was my only time I held up on cocaine.
Yeah, but when you were using, right? Was it like, okay, for instance, like me, you know, once I take a shot, that shot could last me for a week, you know?
Not me, I know.
You know what I mean? That one shot there is a week straight I going, you know?
I could identify with
Not me.
I used until my supply source ran out. Once my supply source was there, begging, stealing, robbing, selling my body, whatever was there, I used. When that ran out, there was no other way I could have get to supply my needs. I stopped. And that brings me down to when I went into a detox, because that's where my recovery started. What that was all about for me. I had problem in making up my mind that I could have stopped using drugs. I remember I would sit to days it. I stopped. Whatever I went through, that put me into this depression that let me know, hey, I should stop. Lose the job, the wife, whatever. So I stopped. And I stopped until a supply source came in. And still a friend to buy with some, or somebody come by with some money. So when I went into detox, it answered a question that fought me for 10 years. Could you stop using drugs? And that's what I get in going into detox. Yes, I could stop using because I stayed a complete day. I stayed 2 days. I stayed 14 days and I didn't use drugs. And that was a miracle for me.
In the case of a drug addict, what happens when he goes into a treatment center for rehabilitation?
Well, first to begin with, he's no longer exposed to drugs. It's a safe place. And then he learns to hopefully restructure his entire life. It's a very structured program. For instance, he gets up in the morning at a certain time every day. He prepares his own meals. He goes through group therapy, learns to deal with his feelings, to get along with people. He learns discipline. He learns how to manage his life.
And who really needs to be involved in an addict's recovery?
I strongly think that an addict's entire family, that means extended family, anybody who's close to the addict should be involved in recovery. I think it's almost useless otherwise.
But how does addiction affect the family?
Addiction is a family disease. After a while, I've seen families try to control the addict, and so they become addicted to the addict, and they start to develop the very same symptoms that an addict develops, and so they become sick also.
And tell me, how do you see spirituality in recovery from drug addiction?
I think spirituality is a basic for recovery. Spirituality in the broad sense, not religiosity, not belonging to a particular church, particular denomination, but spirituality in the sense of going to our higher power, as we call God in AA and NA. The God who is revealed as love to us, a God of compassion, a God of mercy, a God of forgiveness.
Do you see recovery possible without that basic spirituality in an addict's life?
Well, in the broad sense of spirituality, no, it's not possible. Because spirituality, of course, comes from the word spirit, and spirit is associated with power, dunamis, power, dynamite, dynamo. And one of the basic things in the addict's program is that he experiences or she experiences herself as powerless against the addiction, and they have to hand their lives over to a higher power. So they have to hand themselves over to the Spirit, and the Spirit gives them the power to change, to reform their lives.
Some people have the belief that like turning to religion, or like say, I've heard it said that when you're washed in the blood of Jesus, can be cured and healed from all things, including addiction. How do you feel about that?
That might very well be true, but turning to Jesus doesn't mean a sort of individual hotline to God, Jesus, or the Spirit. It means living in community, living in fellowship. That is part of it too. And AANA is very much about fellowship, about love, about caring, concern for one another.
Yes, Errol, what are people supposed to do? You tell me there's no cure for the disease, and yet they have so much treatment around.
Let's listen to what Dr. Lewis has to say.
For the addict, treatment never ends. The reality is that addiction is an illness that has no cure. Many of my addict friends and alcoholic friends come to me initially wanting for me to give them some kind of tablet or medication that is going to allow them to continue using the drug safely and in moderation. Unfortunately, for the addict, for the alcoholic, there's no such thing, and the answer really is complete abstinence, so that for the rest of the life of that individual, they have to monitor themselves. They have to be alert to the fact that they cannot use any kind of mind-altering substance. It is important that the family realizes that in terms of recovery, we're talking about a lengthy process, and that the addict may relapse. The relapse rate is very high amongst the recovery from addiction, and the family needs to realize that, and they need to realize that if there is a relapse, that rather than discarding the addict, rather than contributing to that tremendous sense of disappointment that the addicts feel, they have to do just the opposite. They have to become even more supportive, and they have to involve themselves in a way that hopefully will cut that relapse as short as possible.
And some of the things that are suggested to us as a form of peer pressure, advertising, you know, it does work on your brain. It does tell you that, hey, you know, you can have a nice woman in a jacuzzi, you know, if you drink a particular brand or whatever it is like that, you know, you can't get into that. You know, and, you know, they have so many nice things. They never show you the drunks in the jacuzzi. You know, you know, and then there's another nice one that says, and then we went back to a lovely restaurant, and then we went to our apartment, and they never say, and then I beat the living daylights out there and dunked it through the window, you know.
I have a particular advertisement where it's sort of like a party scene, people whining and carrying on.
Yes, I
know when I look back now, I can remember myself in a carnival party. Sometimes you drink about 3-4 bottles of rum before we go. And when we reach the carnival party, so you're drinking and thing. But what people don't realize is after the party, I can remember one incident in a party, I so high, I sit down on a table, so under a tree. Next time there's a man peeing on my shoes. You understand? And so people like about it, hey, I just see him fix himself and go on. I know where those is like the vomiting and the bad feeling. Sometimes you're coming home, car load, accident, all kind of thing. I know all that shows the good time people having and whining and wailing, but they ain't gonna show the people vomiting or car crash, man dead, all of that. So you can see the peer pressure even from the advertisement world where the drug is concerned. They just show the glamorous part of it, they don't really show the next side of it at all.
Now, fortunately for us, we have had the groundwork laid, because when Michael Broban established treatment services for the treatment of the alcoholic many years ago, integral to that process was the development of Alcoholic Anonymous groups in the community. So when this cocaine epidemic unfolded, we had numerous AA groups, over 100 AA groups throughout the country, and they were able to spawn the development of Narcotic Anonymous and their family groups quite rapidly. But the response of the larger society has also been tremendous. Now we have in place many kinds of treatment facilities, you know, to address addiction, and we had nothing at all in 1983 years ago.
There are negative social pressures working against the addict. We want to look at some of the positive things that are happening these days.
Well, for one thing, at the St. Anne's Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital, there is a drug rehabilitation program in effect. However, this program is in need of a detoxification unit. Let's talk now to Danny Jeffrey and look at Back from Hell.
Hey, David, come. What for? Oh, shucks, come now, man. You made us win, so you should be celebrating with us. Eh, fellas?
Yeah,
man.
Aren't you afraid Mr. James will come and catch you?
So what, James could tell you something, he didn't smoke too?
Yeah, but he's a big man, so he could smoke. We too young for that.
Well, you stupid, eh? Here you not like even know so much.
Ah, forget him. He's our teacher's boy. Mr. Belson formed you treat him like a real pet. You should see them only hugging and kissing.
You jealous or what?
Yeah, he's so soft and small.
Man, pull anything there, what, be afraid?
He can't do that, man. He too soft.
Give me that.
It's a 13-episode television series written specially for television by someone who seems to know his job, Sel Kwamina. And it's a great, great deterrent against drugs. The great thing about it is that it doesn't tell you what to do or what not to do. It scares you to death, let's put it that way. It makes cocaine so attractive at the beginning of the program and so scary as you see the ravages towards the end. I think there could not be a better deterrent against drugs, especially aimed at teenagers.
That's really something to look forward to, Errol. But when do you think we're going to see that TV series?
Well, unfortunately, the response was not 100% favorable, Marcia, because right now there's a shortage of sponsors to complete the shooting of that series and then to air it on TTT. Don't go away. After the break, we have advice to the families and the addicts.
I'm brand new again. I thank dear God the Father for me being here today. Yes, I do. I thank all you good people who helped me sing this way.
And if you're out there and you might be saying that you don't have a problem, we still want to introduce our 12-step program to you. Come and you might learn in coming that you have a problem, because some of us came in here saying to ourselves we didn't have a problem. You understand? One of the requirements to be part of us is just that you must not have the need or wants to use drugs. That's the requirement to be part of us. You know, not if you don't have a problem or not if you have a problem. When you come in here, you might find out that yes, you have a problem. But if you think you don't have one, still come.
Like my friend, I went to the rehab center, and upon leaving the rehab center, I had learned that, well, it doesn't end there. I had been introduced to a program, a 12-step program, which has become a great part of my life today. And I know that I need to attend meetings as often as possible, because without this program and the members on the program and my higher power, which is God, I cannot live a meaningful life, because even without drugs, I still need to change a lot of things in my life, because I've realized that addiction has nothing to do with drugs. And well, we need a program. There are people who might not have a drug problem as such, but this program could really help, because it has helped me.
Joanne, what advice will you give to addicts and to the families of addicts?
Don't give up. It is a difficult disease to overcome, especially if you fall back once you've tried. But once you can do it, from what I've seen, addicts are beautiful people and they live constructive, happy lives. So if you're out there and you're controlled by some force or some object, don't give up trying to overcome it.
Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. If you are even a little bit suspicious that somebody has begun to use a drug, an addictive substance, it needs to be explored, and you need to be honest and upfront in confronting the individual with it. You need to lay down very clear guidelines and understandings that will hopefully lead to the person stop using that drug. Of course, one's response to that will depend on the severity and the seriousness of the use of the substance. But if the individual, let's say, is just in the experimental phase of use of the drug, it might be that confrontation, introducing severe, some limitations to the movements of that person and so on, would be helpful. However, if the addiction has come about, then it is important to seek some kind of outside help. And there are many resources in the community now that are there to help addicts and their families, and that should be taken advantage of.
A number of things I guess I can say. One, maybe not in order of importance, not to allow yourselves to be manipulated by the addict. Sometimes we have to be tough. We ought not to encourage them or enable them to sort of continue their addiction. We have to be able to intervene, but in a prudent and tactful way, and have a lot of patience, a lot of trust, a lot of hope, a lot of love.
Do you use it?
No, I used it already, but not right now. I don't use it. Use it a few times.
Why you stop?
Because I realized that didn't make sense at all. It's not a good thing. You can't control that. That will control you regardless what you do, eventually, yeah?
Hi, Sean.
Hey, Lisa. How are you going?
Fine. So we're doing later after the exam.
I have nothing planned. What are you doing tonight?
We're going on by the pub and have a few beers there, not what?
At the pub, there's not for lying, there's a drinking and thing.
Well, right, you're going to have a few drinks, exams done, relax.
You know what happened last week with the men? After the game, the men get drunk, they vomit all kind of thing by the pub.
I ain't telling nothing about vomiting and getting drunk, you know, we just having a few beers, you know what?
If you want beers, you could go by the zoo. A pub is just a modern day version of a rum shop, you know. One nice girl like you going by the pub for. We go cinema tonight now. Eddie Murphy coming to America.
Hi.
How
are you going?
Good. You alright?
So, thanks for the help in the maths, huh? Alright,
You got through?
Yeah, I think I got through. So when is the next football match?
Saturday we playing Prayer San Fernando.
When I tell you that one last week, Saturday was good. He scored a winning goal, you know.
Thanks.
But don't get too loud. By the way, Teresa having a house party tonight.
Tonight?
Yes, at her house, yeah.
What time?
She said 10:30.
The last one was so good.
Yeah, it was
10:30.
really good. Come down, Lisa.
We coming tonight, 10:30.
Alright, then I'll see you on the get to go.
Alright, good luck with the exam.
Okay, bye-bye, good
Let's go now, 10:30. The last one was so good. Anyhow, good luck in the exam. I have to go to class now, but here we're going now. 10:30, yeah? I'm coming. 10:30.
You don't have to drink alcoholic beverages to have a good time. Sean was assertive enough to say no.
That's right. No matter how much pressure your peers put on you, you are the one with that final decision, whether you do or whether you don't. Do you know that in the General Hospital, after 5 p.m., a very high percentage of all casualties are alcohol-related?
Yes, but after midnight every night, on public holidays and on weekends, those figures rise drastically.
Let's hear now from Dr. Lewis about the addictive personality.
I would say that there's no single addictive personality as such. There's no single type of person that one could say that this person is an addictive kind of personality and will be susceptible to the illness. Rather, there are several different types of traits that can be described in individuals before they become addicts that we could say are the kind of traits that one would be cautious in terms of thinking that these individuals may go on to become addicts. For instance, young people who tend to be rebellious, young people who dislike school, young people who seem to place more preference on being with their peers and being with their families, young people who seem to have problems with self-esteem, who tend to suffer from depression. Those kinds of things have been detected over and over again in studying groups of individuals before they become addicts, and they seem to have some predictive kind of importance.
I was once a liar, yes I was, just lying without shame. Drugs had me stealing, I even spoiled my family name. My days seem so long.
In this section, we look at how drug addiction eventually affects family life. And we talk to Dr. Babulal about the physical effects of substance abuse.
We also look at deterioration in the addict.
Addiction is, like many diseases, a progressive disease because it goes through stages. If you look at somebody who's suffering with diabetes, they start from the early stage where they don't know they have the disease until they reach the late stage where they're facing death. It's the same thing with drugs, right? You start from the early experimental stage where you say, I can use it and stop. You know, I am not going to become addicted. You go on to the middle or the second stage, which we call the societal rot. And this is where use has increased and it's affecting your whole life. It's affecting your social life, your family life, your job, or school, as the case might be. People at this stage have lost their jobs, they're separated from their spouses, they have no money in the bank, they've lost their house and their car and everything, okay? If the addict does not stop at this stage, if he cannot be made to realize that his life is collapsing around him, and he goes on using the drug, he then comes into the third stage. And the third stage we call the body rot stage. And this is the stage at which the drug has affected the organs of the body to such an extent that if the addict doesn't stop, he's going to die. Matter of fact, even at this stage, even if they stop, the damage done can be so great that his life is not necessarily prolonged for any length of time.
I have a few friends really I see good dresser and thing, going down kind of thing, and still going to, as a matter of fact.
You ever see anybody reach vegan?
Yeah, many people I see reach vegan, many people.
There were times when I couldn't get alcohol. I got so sick that I used to drink Alcalado.
I didn't care how they train and them eating. So long as I get my drugs, everything is hungory. I used to carry my little son when I go in to buy my thing and put the drugs on him because I never let police come there searching him.
Like in my case, I can identify on 4 occasions I tried to, strangle my wife or try to stick her with a knife to her throat to get the gold chain off of her neck so that I could, pawn it to get money to buy drugs.